Welcome to the Health ROI Show, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the health interventions that have the greatest return on investment, hence ROI, of your time, your energy, and yes, your money. I'm Liz Bradford, ex-MD in banking, founder and board advisor, and in each episode I bring you fireside conversations with the longevity physicians, health tech founders, and optimization specialists who are transforming how high performers optimize their health. If you treat your health like you treat your business, data-driven, systematic, and ROI-focused, you're in the right place. This isn't wellness advice, it's health intelligence backed by data, designed for execution, and built for measurable results. Let's dive in.
All right. Well, I am super excited to be welcoming Zac Armstrong to the Health ROI show today. He's translated 20 plus years of experience as a Marine and a fighter pilot, and the military precision and performance optimization he learned into now helping high achieving executives reclaim their health without sacrificing career success. And we were just having a quick chat about kind of the demographic of who he serves and everything else. And I just know that this is going to be a really interesting conversation, particularly because he has a very unique combination of elite military training, executive coaching, and also faith-based approach. So it really does provide his clients with battle-tested protocols for maintaining peak performance under extreme pressure. So when it comes to managing things like burnout, stress, which I know you talk about quite a lot, Zac, is there anything I've missed in terms of your offering, how you operate, what you do that we should capture before we jump into questions?
As far as like that covers the overall, I do think, I add a couple elements that a lot of people don't in this space, so to say. I have a couple doctors on staff, one that provides blood work for, things like HGH, testosterone levels, checks thyroid issues. Sometimes people come in and have underlying issues that they may or may not know of. Also have a doctor on staff that we were able to do HSA, FSA payments. Most people in the space don't do that, as in like 99.9%. So try to combine some things, put some thought process in it. I think one thing that's unique with me compared to a lot of others that are inside the same space is like I am the person that I'm trying to help. While a naval commander is not necessarily the title executive, it's the same type thing, right? Multiple, anywhere from 50 to hundreds of people work for you at one time. And then at the same time, managing family, sports, things like that. So all the things that, usually the client that I am working with, the issues they have is the same issues that I have had or dealt with or still deal with on a daily basis.
And immense pressure, I would imagine, as well. So
Correct. And so one thing that I would say is very much about my program that I don't think other people focus on is mine is just as much about mindset as it is physical. I think both of them go hand in hand. Like most people aren't genuinely happy if they're super out of shape. It's just not something that usually is a correlation. You can feel good about yourself overall, but usually we kind of identify with our how we look and feel with our mental state too. So I tell every single client when they come on, after 6 months, you'll never need somebody else again. You'll never need a trainer again. Like we're gonna set habits and stuff in your life to which you will never need somebody again. And that means like, and I'll explain it in a way like this. Like when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to go, hey, when you wake up today, you're going to work out. I already know that, right? It's already in my system. I already know that. I don't have to say, hey, Zach, you're not going to go eat a cake tonight, right? I don't have to say these things. And these are the things that we try to build with the client, right? That they have a mindset of they shift exactly, not just their physical attributes, but their mindset. So these things aren't anymore like, hey, I have to do that. It's just, oh, that's just part of who I am. And I do say like, hey, you'll never need me after 6 months, but that's just, even though I say that, majority of my clients stay on. And it's just due to the relationship that's developed. I take it very serious. I only take so many clients on because I like the personal relationship that's developed.
yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I always have like a sheet that I send to clients when I bring them on, and they say, why do you only program 6 sessions? And I say, well, if you still need me after 6 sessions, then I'm not doing my job. Like my job is to make myself redundant. But exactly to your point, I find often people want someone to continue to help hold them accountable, but you're also just building that relationship. And actually, most of my clients who are all executives, and I'm sure yours are very similar, they're used to telling everyone else what to do all the time. Sometimes they just want someone else to like take care of stuff, be in control, and they don't have to
Yeah.
think about it. They just do what they're told and they feel amazing at the end.
it makes sense, right? Like, do everybody manage their finances? No, they don't. They hire somebody to
Yeah.
do it. Did Tiger Woods use a caddy to win the US Open? Yeah, he did. He probably could have won it. He maybe could have won it without it, but he surely used somebody to help him, right? And that's kind of the idea is like, I'm not trying to create more stuff on your plate. I'm trying to help dissipate some of the bandwidth usage that you're using and, make it easy lockstep stuff for you. Not just that, you have somebody that you can always bounce back to, like, hey, I need this or I have this. Hey, travel just came up. Can we switch my
Mm.
program? I do this. I don't have time to go do all that. And it's taken care of for them.
Yeah. And I've heard you talk before on your socials around burnout. And I think the stat that you use is that 77% of people have symptoms of burnout. So how do you approach, let's say you're working with an exec who already works 80 hours a week, they genuinely don't think that that's changeable. How do you help them by taking stuff off or at least helping them program in their well-being on top of that?
Right. And yeah, I use that. That was a statistic from a study done by Deloitte in 2022.
Mm.
And from that, and I think 70% say they have considered leaving their job because of that burnout and for their own well being. So, what we do is we don't try to add to the week, we try to find time. Some individuals can go 4 times a week for an hour. Some individuals can only, manage 30-minute sessions. So we try to do that. Hey, if I'm at a desk all day, okay, well, let's change it to a standing desk or, you can have a walking pad now underneath your desk pretty easily to get in steps. And, one thing that I always try to talk to executives about too is, when that job's gone, right? Majority of the guys or women have children or family, people that care about them. Um, at the end of the day, that 80-hour week is great. But if you left this world tomorrow, is the job going to care or the people you care about? Who are you giving your time to? What are you getting back? If that if that company had, their stock take a major hit tomorrow, and massive layoffs happen and you were let go, it is nothing to do maybe with, what your quality of work was,
Mm.
is because of what the company had to do to reshape. You're that easily replaced within minutes. How replaceable are you to people that love you? You're not. You can't go you can't go back and recreate that. Not just that, but how do you want to be there for them? Do you want to be 70 years old and not have the ability to go out and do things with them? A lot of executives I've worked with seem to be having children later in life. And so you're an older father, with younger children. A lot of the guys can be in their 50s to up to 60 years old when their kids are graduating high school. What kind of dad do you want to be? Do you want to be the dad that's out of breath when you just going outside and moving around with them? And so I try to put these things inside their head. I'm like, yes, that 80-hour work is great. But if you do 3 hours of your week, which is about 1% of your week, to this, what you're really wanting in life, right, is accomplishable. Yes, that 80-hour week gets you this income, right? But does it get you happiness? I don't think it does, because a lot of the guys I speak to and women I speak to, not necessarily happy with work. It's more of a necessity.
Mm.
And that's one thing that I really try to get inside their head. I also try to get inside their head that, hey, devoting 3 hours is only 1% of your life. Like, we can break this up too. It doesn't have to be, 1 hour here, 1 hour here, 1 hour here. We can break this up 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here. Small changes too, like, hey, preparing your food on Sunday, you know, meal prep. People have a misconception like, oh, it's going to take forever. Like, I meal prep every Sunday. It takes me usually 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And I even have hacks to where if I'm in a hurry, I can have something done in 10 minutes on some, like, staples that I use, that for quick. And when you think about that, how much are you going out to eat during lunch or, doing this? Like, the guy who leaves, and I'll just use McDonald's as an example, leaves his work, goes to McDonald's, gets it, comes back. That's probably at least a 30, 45-minute round trip. If you meal prep, you can work out for 30 minutes instead of going to McDonald's, come back, have your meal prep done. And now we're trying to find time where it's already in your schedule. Sometimes, when we're too close, it's an old analogy, but when you're too close to the forest, you can't see the trees, right?
Mm.
The same thing, right? When you get so involved in your own life and your work and everything, often you miss the spots of clarity or where moments can be where you can capture that time or, reposition things.
Yeah. And some of it's also just so habitual, right? I really like your approach in terms
Yes.
of how people see themselves. So I'm the sort of person who goes to McDonald's, or I'm the sort of person who does meal prep. I'm the sort of person who
Yep.
wakes up and it's just a given, like it's a non-negotiable that I'm
Yep.
working out. Or I'm the sort of person that has to like literally fight myself out of bed and struggle into my trainers and everything else, right? How do you work with people to kind of start getting them to see themselves differently? Because I think that's such a fundamental shift.
Well, again, something that I do that's I would say a lot of I know almost nobody does. I usually talk to every client 3 to 20 times a day. And now that sounds like a lot, but
It does seem like a lot.
it's not always it's not on the phone. It's never on the phone. My program is mostly done through an app, and it's just like, hey, if they made meal inputs, like I'm making a comment on it. It could be to say, hey, great day. Or it could be very detailed, like, hey, you were over on calories today because you ate 2 avocados for breakfast. It's good fat, but it's heavily calorically dense, and that's why your calories are so high today. And then I'm usually making a comment on their their workout, right? So if they worked out, could be like, hey, good job. This is what I'll be do here. Remember to do this, this, this. And then every morning, regardless, everybody gets at least one message a day from me because I send a daily motivational quote every single day. And it's more of trying to get the mindset going, getting thought process going. It has really nothing to do with working out. It never has anything to do with working out. It's
Mm.
always something to do with like a motivational thing or something they may have been going through, and I'm trying to spark like a different way of viewing it with the messaging. So I do those things, and then I have habits each day that people are supposed to do, like get 30 minutes of sun or drink a gallon of water. My most important one is always journaling.
Really
Yes,
interesting.
and journaling for me and most people when they come on board are not like that's not something they're going to do or used to doing. And it's for a couple reasons. One, I don't always preach like writing down feelings. If they want to add into that, that's great. But what I also do is I ask them to do visualization and writing things down. Hey, in 6 months, if the person weighs, let's say 250 pounds, I'm
Hmm.
going to weigh 200 pounds in 6 months. In 3 months, I am going to have enough energy to go outside and play with my kids. I'm in 4 months, I'm going to bench press 225 pounds. And the reason I did do that, like if anybody goes watch like as a former pilot, like you go watch the Blue Angels on Prime or the Thunderbirds on Netflix, that demonstration team sits down as a team, right? And they cheer fly that flight before every flight, even though they've done it 200 sometimes. And they cheer fly the fight together is because they're closing their eyes and actually visualizing themselves doing those things, right? And when you as a human have to journal those things down, you have to visually picture yourself doing it when you write it down. And when you do that kind of thing, you're not just thinking about it, you're creating small beliefs inside your head. And beliefs are powerful. When you start putting some beliefs, not when you start putting beliefs in yourself and you start thinking of these things, it's amazing how the mind will help you gravitate towards those goals without even you trying. Your mind automatically starts doing. I mean, subconsciously controls what 90% of our thoughts. Like
Mm.
you don't have to tell yourself, "Hey, breathe in, breathe out." Right now, you start walking. You don't have to say, "Hey, put left foot in front of right foot." It's all your subconscious. It's stuff that you've done in your life that you've already taught, right? And that's what a lot of where our habitual nature comes from is from our subconscious, right? And so we're trying to break some of those things, also with the visualization, writing those things down.
That's incredible. I've never heard of that before in terms of and I apologize for my ignorance, but about the fighter pilots and them doing, or the pilots and them doing that. But it makes perfect sense. And
Yeah,
then even from the kind of the subconscious thing, I always talk about the hurt locker. So I used to do a lot of endurance sports, but then
yeah,
even within work, I would
yeah.
always outwork everyone. I would outcompete everyone. But it's because I knew I could stay longer in the hurt locker than anyone else because I'd done it. So I believed in it. But to your
Right.
point, it didn't even occur to me to push myself. It just came naturally.
Yep.
And I think it translated over. You're right. I think it's just so much about how we see ourselves subconsciously more than anything. Like we either believe we can do something or we can't.
Right.
So then a lot of your discipline did come from being a fighter pilot and in the Navy and everything else. Like if you come across like say you meet me
Um.
and I'm the average executive, how do you help me pattern in that level of discipline?
Well, I don't expect everybody to be me, or I don't expect everybody to adhere to what I do, right? Like I would do that other people wouldn't. And like I'm not going to go do any endurance stuff right now. Listen, the hurt locker, right? Really, it's just small changes, right? I think too many times, like when you say, "Hey, how do you get to that point to where I'm like you?" I don't think I'd never ever try to make that the goal for somebody. I
Mm.
just try to make, hey, let's just try this and let's just try this and keep this going. And what's funny is like with change, like when you can make a lot of small changes over a period of time, it gradually becomes a bigger thing that you don't even realize has changed. And I think when you try to put those goals, that doesn't come overnight. And I don't even like setting it as a goal. I like, hey, let's create these little things. And then over time, it's amazing how you're like, I've changed and you don't even realize it. And that's what's more magical than trying to set something, and you just kind of set the smaller things and that bigger goal that's kind of there, that we both know about, the unsaid. It becomes a reality without even trying.
Yeah. I think that's sometimes you look back and you're like, I can't believe how different it is. But also sometimes that stuff can take longer than we realize, but then the change is much bigger than we thought it was going to be as
It
well.
always is. It always is when we do a bunch of little smaller things that we don't think is that big of a deal. And then once we go, oh man, I'm out here walking at, 7 o'clock in the morning before work to get
Mm.
sunlight. And it just hit me like, I've been doing this for 6 months, right? And
Yeah.
like, just doesn't even occur to us.
No, it's incredible. And an amazing privilege to work with people and get them to that stage as well.
Yeah, it is. Like, I get a lot of questions, like, when I'm doing one of the first calls with them, like, why are you doing this? I get that all the time,
Really?
all the time. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like, I think like probably like out of like this week alone, like I would say 90% of the calls have ended, well, not ended with, but like when I get through presenting what the program is and everything, like, why are you doing this? What got you into this? Uh, when I started it, it was just by a random somebody asking me to help them. And then when I started going, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I started putting effort and energy into it, like, getting the app, figuring out a doctor to get on staff, figuring out these things and making it like a really overall great product. Just like what we were talking about, the small changes, right? When I was doing all this, like I had a different goal in mind, one of making like, a business, doing things. But what occurred, and I didn't think about it until it happened, was I didn't realize how much effect it would have on me changing people's lives. I
Mm.
had zero overall, like, you know, I didn't think of that secondary effect of what it would do to me. Like, I get the guy who's like 14%, want to be 8%, those are fun to work with. But, then you'll get guys like, there's a guy that was probably one of the biggest changes for me was, a guy named Jacob. And he came in 272 pounds, 50 years old, pre diabetic, heart issues. He thought he'd have, a whole lot longer life if he didn't change. Within 6 months, he lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
And it wasn't some like crazy diet. We don't go like it's all sustainable stuff that I do. So I very much preach sustainability. I don't want to create something to you that's not sustainable to just lose weight. Plenty of people can do that. I can create you a $1,400 calorie diet at 300 pounds, and you're gonna lose weight, but you're gonna gain it back, as well as meds for your metabolism. But if you sit there and you like started asking me like serious questions about Jake and what it meant to me, I'd probably get emotional about it because of how much impact that had on me. And I would have never, ever thought that would have been what would have happened in the beginning when I started it. And the impact that I can have on people's lives has just as much impact on me.
Mm.
I say this to every single client, and I mean it. Their goals become my goals. And I absolutely take it personally. And helping them achieve it is just as important as me going out and achieving my own goals. And I'm very sincere with that. And it's something that I hold very close to my heart, and especially with some of the clients that I've worked with.
I can see it. All the hairs are gone off on the back of my neck. I can see why that would be super compelling. And then you're doing it with like every day, checking in all the time. Like, no wonder you're so successful in what you do. But it's a lot of pressure on you. You must have very, very busy days. How do you handle the stress and pressure?
Yeah, so they usually start about 4:30 and they end about, like, I get off the desktop, it's probably about, 5:36. So, 12, 14-hour days. There's stuff in between there, definitely gonna work out or go for a walk or something. But, the app allows me to get a notification from somebody just as if it was a text. And so
Mhm.
I'm able to respond on my phone usually pretty quickly, especially if it's just a small question. If it's something that, hey, I'm going on travel, I need this, that requires a little bit more bandwidth. I probably need it on my desktop. But that allows me to be able to do it. So I work pretty much 7 days a week. Well, 1000% work 7 days a week because I'm going to send the daily message. And then I usually work heavy days on Monday through Friday, Saturday about a half a day. And then Sunday morning, I wake up about 4:30 every Sunday morning, and send a Loom video to every client. And it's
Every
usually
client, like a separate one or one Loom video to everyone?
no, every client gets their own Loom video, and it ranges anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. So it takes me a pretty good while to do. And it can range from going over the week, or it can be a motivational one. Like if somebody's struggling with what they're doing or not sticking with the program, adhering to it, it'll be a very motivational one. Um, and then, I usually try to jump. If I don't send them a Loom that week, it's because we're going to jump on a Zoom video, and I'll do a Zoom video with a client. Usually try to do every client a Zoom video once every month or 2 months. Try not to go over 2 months. The Loom videos are pretty effective. A lot of times people are time constrained. So the
Yeah.
Loom videos are a lot more effective than hopping on a Zoom call, strangely enough.
No, that makes sense because I don't know about you, but most of my clients are really time poor. That's why they're coming to me.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's working around their lifestyle.
Yeah, and
That's
the Loom you
incredible.
can play and you can put it on like 1.5, 2, right? I
Yes.
talk pretty fast on those
Always
twos.
on two. I realized the other day I was listening to a meditation on two, and then I was like, no, this is definitely not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So, and then you've mentioned travel a couple of times. How do you help clients when they're traveling? Because like that is notoriously very, very difficult for them to maintain
It
routine and stay
depends. It
healthy.
depends on like if it's work or not. So I get like detailed. Like a guy Henry went to the Hilton San Francisco district like 3 weeks ago, and so I created a PDF for him for the hotel that he was staying at. I gave him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I gave him 5 options at each meal for the Hilton, and then I gave him 5 nearby restaurants and 5 options for each meal for each of those 5 restaurants. And then I changed his workout program to be based upon the equipment that was at the Hilton. Then another guy was going to Greece. What was Matthew? Matt went to Greece about a month and a half ago with his fiance, and I created PDF for him because he was there longer. I created 10 restaurants for each meal that was located by the hotel and 5 options for each meal for each restaurant there, as well as changed his workout program to be based on it. And it's PDF. And then if somebody's saying, hey, I'm going out on a dinner tonight at X amount, as long as they give me a pretty, like a 2-3 hour heads up, I'll create a PDF based upon their meal, the place they're going and where they're at in the program. Like it'll be 5 options at that very specific restaurant, and it'll be very detailed to the menu that's available at that restaurant.
That's incredibly detailed.
Yeah, told you
You
I
really
take
do
this.
take it personally,
Yeah,
huh?
take it very serious.
Okay. And I know you said that you kind of fell into it, but I've seen a bit of your story. What is it that makes you believe so much in what you do?
Um, well, for me, like, I fell into a very dark period, going through divorce, drinking way too much, and from that, what helped pull me out was getting my mind wrapped back around being a disciplined type person, and really the fitness aspect of it helped pull me out of that. And kind of in the world we live in now, I think a lot of people are like that.
Mm,
Uh, while social media does have its good attributes, I do think it helps alienate, people as well. Yeah, I have a lot of friends, but you don't, because it's more online broad than necessarily that actual human interaction. It's a fake interaction, and we don't get that same kind of real endorphin spike type thing. And I think there's a lot of people that are struggling now with that kind of thing. I think a lot of people are so work oriented that is very focused on, we're inside offices, cubicles, things like that. It's just not, I don't want to say that's not what was intended for humans, but it's definitely something that has created a different dynamic and different, problems for people. Like
mm,
anything, everything, when you like, just like me, when I first started out, I had that secondary wave that hit that of what I didn't realize was going to happen to me from doing it. It's the same thing with, hey, what happens to you when you work 80-hour week, when you're underneath cubicle, lighting that's just not real lighting, right? And all these things, I don't think we realize how compounds on us from a mental and physical aspect. Um, and I think, I mean, it's not really hard to see. Data backs up most of what I'm saying. Like, I think the United States is going to be almost 50% obese by 2030. That's
mm.
pretty high. That's that's substantially high. And
Yeah.
you don't see it in adults now. You see it in youth. Um, I don't have the number in front of me right now, but I would imagine the obesity rate for the youth right now is probably 3 to 4 times what it was in the 50s and 60s. And I say that pretty confidently.
Mm. And it's really concerning, right? Because there's
It
the
is.
obesity side of it, but then there's all of the downstream impacts. And we in the West in particular have aging populations. If you look at things like dementia, diabetes,
Yeah.
cardiovascular, stroke risk, like it's horrifying when you see the wave that's coming. And it
Yeah,
is the
and it's
downstream impact of those decisions.
and another thing I think plays into it is, and just like you talked about in the Western culture, is think while our medical industry is more advanced than it used to be, I mean, that's not very hard to
Mm,
say. It's also become more reactive and not preventative. I 100% believe that. Like, um, how many doctors now do you go to and they're overweight? And
yeah.
they're sitting there telling you how you need to live your life. Like, I have one client whose doctor was severely overweight, and my client is overweight, and the doctor literally told him to stop working out
Wow,
and
really?
take and to continue on with his GLP. Um, because he's like, "Hey, your heart rate, is too high." And I was like, "Well, your heart rate's higher because you're overweight, and it's going to come down." And then, sure enough, he went against the doctor's advice, kept working out with me, and his heart rate's down. He's down like 40 pounds, and like he's
Mm,
feeling better, and he's off the GLP. And but it's just so much of doctors have other subsets of issues too, right? Like, hey, they just can't say stuff because they have to cover their own ass, right? Like
yeah.
they're worried about lawsuits. They're worried about if they say the wrong thing, give the wrong advice. Now they're on the hook for it, and so they go probably to like, hey, the safest case, the safest issues. But very rarely do I get any client who's went to a doctor and said, hey, yeah, he told me to work out, he told me to do this. I get some, but for the most part, that's not the case. And we have very, very reactive medicine. It's very more advanced, right? But it's also uh, it's definitely reactive.
Even medical training, they're trained to treat disease. They're not trained to prevent disease. They
Correct.
treat it. They don't, they're not looking at longevity and health span. They're looking at how do I deal with this acute problem right in front of me now,
Correct.
not the chronic problem of longer term.
Right.
And then, I don't know about actually, I do know about the US. There's a big industry in not necessarily preventing these
It's huge
problems in the
industry.
first place, right? So
Huge
I
industry,
don't
right?
want to get too
It's a
conspiracy
big,
theory about
big.
it, but there's no
I'm not.
vested
I mean,
interest.
it's not even conspiracy theory, right? It's big
Yeah.
money, big pharma. We've seen massive, massive lawsuits against them for big things. Like, one of the biggest ones was the opioid pandemic that was not
Yeah.
too, it's still here, but it was bad because doctors were just being able to do it without any regulation.
So you had all of the tobacco companies went and bought the places like McDonald's. So it's like there's a lot of
Right? Like, even labels.
mm,
Labels are crazy. What can be considered a open range chicken? Like they just
yeah,
have like a little fence they can walk out of, or what's considered organic? What, like, how far does it
yeah.
have to go to where that's approved, right? Or like I can't tell you how many times somebody will eat something that's labeled protein. Like they just put the words protein on it. So, yeah, man, it's got protein in it. Turn that thing around. Look at the ingredients. Okay, that has 10 grams, 12 grams, but it's got 56 grams of carbohydrates.
Mm,
That's not a protein supplement. That's just they're putting that label on it, right? Just to draw in that audience that they're looking for. It's great marketing, but it's
not good for
misleading.
us.
It's
Like a lot of
misleading.
marketing, it's not good for us.
Yes.
Yeah, no, very true. Now I can see why you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible work. So your clients are very, very lucky.
Thanks.
Um, okay, I have a few just quick fire questions, if that's okay, to close out.
Shoot out.
All right. So there are 5 of these. The first one is, what's one fitness standard that every executive should meet that would keep the Marine mission ready?
Oh, Marine mission, right? That's a little different. No, I mean I wouldn't go Marine mission ready. That's a different level. But just one thing that they could probably change in their life is, you know, getting 7 to 10,000 steps and making at least 30 minutes of it outside,
Mm,
right? Walking outside and try to do it without a phone or something. Just we all reach a you know, point to where it's diminishing returns to where we work so hard and we're at that plateau and we're not getting what we're putting into it at that moment because we're just not we can only operate so long. So that just walking outside, getting the sunlight, brain dumping for 30 minutes can reinvigorate people more than they probably think.
absolutely. I have a quick build on that one though. So I have a question. So you live in California, I think. So it's
San Diego.
not going to get too chilly. But I live in the
It
northern.
might get noticed. It might get here.
Okay, yeah. I live in the countryside and it's starting to get real cold. So
Yeah.
what's your advice to people who are living like somewhere even colder, like Canada or somewhere else in the parts where those 30 minutes a day they can't actually go outside, is there anything else they can do to counter the hibernation period?
Sure. I mean, they can, do movements, calisthenics if they don't have weights,
Mm,
just doing simple calisthenics for 15, 20 minutes at your desk can create a whole different thing. Brain dump, just put on like some music that you like or like, meditation music, just sit down and meditate. Meditating has been showed is very powerful to help like things like resting heart rate. You would never think of it, but meditating and like helping you control your body can help lower your heart rate. Things that people would never think about. That some of the again the secondary effects, things will have it you wouldn't even think about. It's supposed to clear your mind, but it also helps your body more than you would think.
okay. No, that's good advice. Great advice. It's just, I know you're supposed to embrace the cold, but I really struggle with it. I'll be honest.
I would say go out in the cold, but my thought process is much how when even though I live in California, I was raised in the South. I was raised in Alabama. And it's still in the 90s there, right? In the summer, we'll hit high 90s and it's
Mm.
humid, humid. I've lived in the desert. I've lived in the South, and 90 degrees with 100% humidity in the South is way worse than 125 degrees in the Sahara Desert. Way worse. um, and you kind of your body adapts to where you live
Yeah.
over time. Most people can still go outside and they're a little bit more adaptable to it, but still things are going to hit. When it's negative 30, I don't care who you are. You're not outside walking.
Yes, that's very true. You're not grounding with bare feet, Andrew Huberton.
None. That's not happening.
No, 100% not. Okay, I'm really sorry. The next two are also quite military focused, purely because obviously that is, something
Sure,
very
of
unique
course.
about you. So could you complete this sentence? The biggest difference between military and executive fitness is?
The believability, right? Most military people they've come up with be putting beliefs that are being put into them that they can achieve certain things. The executive has that same mindset, but it's usually always at like the ROI at other company or getting this next accomplishment, closing the quarter, all these things. It's always, very objective towards just their job, never themselves. Where the military is the mission and the person sometimes blend together.
Awesome. Awesome. So the believability and the mindset.
Mhm.
If you had 90 seconds to give a CEO a health protocol that works, what would it be?
But the health protocol would be easy. Hey, we need to do at least 3 to 4 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes of, strength training. As men, we lose testosterone, bone density, muscle mass every year. The only thing that's going to stop that, or it's not going to stop, but help curtail it, would be strength training. It won't, Mother Nature is going to continue to do that, but you can help slow it down. The two biggest things with longevity is VO2 max and muscle mass for men right now. Makes sense if you think about it. 70 years old, if you have those two things, you can move around. So we get those things going on board. One, it's going to help change you physically. And if we can get your nutrition in order, in which you can have planned meals, it's going to help you do things because I coach people all over the world. People are the same. They eat what's readily available to them when they're hungry. People rich, poor, and different are also the same. We don't like wasting food as a human being.
Yeah.
So if you prepare those meals, you're way more likely to eat it. So if we can get you on board with those two changes, you're going to have more changes than you think. Ball in the lane analogy. I don't need you to hit a strike every time, but if you keep that ball in the lane, each time, each day, we're gonna hit enough pins down. By the end of the time, you're gonna have a good enough score to make a difference, right? And that's the same thing with your body. You do a lot of these things, you don't have to be perfect. Be at 60, 70%, you're gonna achieve a lot more than you thought.
And I think there's always this thing as well, and I'd be really interested in your perspective of it. I really like that analogy because I feel like sometimes people set themselves up for failure by saying, I have to do
Yep.
all of these things perfectly.
Yep.
And the minute we don't do one of them, we feel like we're breaking trust with
Yes.
ourselves and we lose faith in ourselves.
Yep.
Whereas I really like that analogy.
Yeah. I like it too. I use it often and one of the reasons I use it is for my own self, and because I think like myself with a lot of people who are high achieving executives, I mean, those are most of those, man, woman, they're high achievers. They're used to getting things done great, and a lot of times we can be OCD and perfection. If we don't hit it perfection, we'll get mad at ourselves. We'll look at ourselves differently. We'll be harder on ourselves, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not. I think one of the biggest things, which is strangely enough, one of the biggest habits I try to break with every client is weighing in every day. It messes with your mind. Weight can fluctuate. If I ate carbs yesterday and didn't drink a lot of water, well, that carbs are going to hold the water in. You can gain 2 pounds, 3 pounds overnight. Or if you just were super dehydrated, you could lose 5 pounds. I try to get in clients' head. We're going to weigh in once a week. Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. That's it. Every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Let's try to do it. The variables then are kind of similar every week. And then we have real data that shows. And I'm just using Sunday, not every client, Sunday at 8 a.m. I
Hmm.
try to do Sunday, Monday because it's the beginning of the week, because
Keeps them
just
honest
that
over the
weight
weekend.
tell you how much weight, we put emphasis on weight by getting on the scale. Women are obviously probably much worse than men
Yeah,
about it
yeah, yeah.
because they're more subconscious about it. But I try to tell people this all the time. And, you can go look at before and after pictures of me. I'm like, how much you think I weigh there? How much you think I weigh there? And there's only like a 5 pound difference, but it looks a lot different. So you can weigh, a woman can weigh 135 pounds and look one way, and she can weigh 135 pounds, look a whole different way. And I
Mm,
think people get wrapped up around that weight. And I always tell people the best way to judge things is energy levels, because energy levels is a subset of good fitness, good nutrition, good sleep. And I think the other reason I'm always big on energy, that's always my number one goal, is because whenever you have more energy, it's always positive energy. And positive energy is infectious. It infects every part of your life. It makes you a better spouse. It makes you a better parent. It makes you a better coworker. And, I always tell people this too, like, it's easy to say that because every one of us have been around that person. And when you walk away, you just go, damn, I just feel better about myself. And it's that positive aura that they have. They're giving it off and it's infectious. And that's why I always preach energy. Because when you have that energy, you're always going to feel good about yourself too, because
mm.
of that positive aura that you have inside yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Mood is so contagious, both positive
It
and
really
negative,
is.
right? So
It
stress is
is.
super contagious as well. So like,
Yeah.
and I always remember like being taught this a few years ago, and it really hit me. It's like, particularly if you're a leader, the energy you walk into a room with or onto a Zoom call or anything else, that will infect even faster
Yeah.
your entire team. So just being conscious of that is
Yeah.
super, super powerful.
Yeah. I agree. Like
Yeah.
this smiling and talking makes, like,
Mm.
somebody can pick up on. I can be smiling and on the phone with somebody and then a frown on my face and talking to somebody.
Yeah, yeah, they can hear.
It's funny, as a human, we can feel that through a phone.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's why I think sometimes the filters and stuff on Zoom, and I use them because I'm female and I'm vain, but sometimes they really don't help because people can't read your expression. And
No,
you can come across as like super aloof or this or that, but actually
yeah,
it's just that you've got it like the Zoom filter turned up to alien level. So
yeah, no, I keep mine just what you see right now is how my Zoom looks.
you're a better human than me then.
Yeah.
All right. My last question was, what was the most dangerous health habit you see in successful executives? Is there anything else you would say that is like a negative habit that you actively encourage people to try and get rid of?
I'm not gonna say it's not a habit, it's more of a mindset. And I think I'm actually gonna post about it tomorrow. It's, we call it short-sightedness. A lot of times everybody wants to have their ducks in a row before they do this. Right?
Mm.
I have to do this, this, and this, and then I'll do that. Right. And a lot of, people who are trying to succeed in life say, okay, when I get a job that pays this much, I get this done, I have my kids' college paid for, I have this and this, then I'll start taking care of myself.
Mm.
And it goes back to what I talked about before. You go ask any kid, whether they have a parent or a trust fund, they're going to say their parent every single time. And while you might think that, hey, if I set them up monetarily, they're going to be good, that's great, right? Hey, maybe they won't have to have as many worries in life. But I guarantee you, if you have a child that's 10 years old, they lose their dad or mom at 50 years old. I don't care if they're a multimillionaire from the trust fund, they're going to probably have more issues
Yeah, of
losing a
course.
parent than they would have being the rich, 20-year-old. And so being short sighted, that the longer you put off health, the harder it's going to be, the more problems you're going to end up having. These aren't like my opinion; these are just facts, right? This is what is going to happen and occur. Um,
Mm.
and if you're short sighted about it, and you need to kind of, like, instead of being short sighted, look at a bigger holistic picture. And it's easy, especially when you get guys on the phone and girls on the phone, who've had a parent that they saw go through it. And then when you talk to them and you make them realize that they're starting to take those same steps without even knowing it. Again, the secondary effects, they don't even realize it.
Mm.
And then when you point it out, and then they can go back and think about when they were on the other person's end and how it made them feel. And you go, do you want to do that to your kids? It has a big impact, and it helps with that short sightedness.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Super powerful. I've also yet And a lot of my clients work in banking.
Yeah.
And, and
Imagine
then,
that.
but they are very much mortgaging their future, right? And they're mortgaging their current existence with their families and being present for that future.
Mhm.
And then to your point, they don't get to that future. But the other thing is, particularly with people in financial services, your number changes. It's never enough, right?
No,
They're always like, oh, when I hit that number, and I'm like, right, well, you already hit the number that you told me last year. So, but it's never enough, never enough, never enough. Because
the goalpost, we
the whole
we call it the
system,
goalpost. Yeah,
yeah, goalpost move. And the whole system
yep,
is geared up to make them feel that way.
exactly.
But in the meantime, their kids are in like these amazing boarding schools, not near their parents. And then they've got these trust funds, but they're miserable because they don't have the building blocks and the guidance and the engagement. And so it
Yeah.
is, you know, that it's done with the best intent, but the system is not geared up to help people be better
It's
humans.
always made to make people feel inadequate.
It is.
And, when you feel inadequate, right? Like that's a powerful, powerful thing on somebody, you
Yeah.
know. And that comes from when we were little, being made fun of or anything. Like we're always self-conscious, no matter who we are. You could go find the best looking person in the world and they're gonna have some inadequacies that they judge themselves on.
Yeah. No, I
And I
think
think
every
so
single
often we
human,
don't think about that. Hey, that dude's got this, or this woman's got this, and they got this. Their family looks perfect. Bet you it's not.
100% it says one thing guaranteed
Bet you
across
it's
the
not.
entire human condition is that everyone feels like they're not enough.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we're built, and that's okay. But sometimes we should probably realize what's more important. Not all those inadequacies are what's really important.
Mm. It's what makes us human. That's an
Yeah.
amazing point to close on. Zac, thank you so, so much for sharing so
Thank
much.
you.
I know it's given me a lot of food for thought, and I'm sure it will give a lot of the audience food for thought as well. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you for
Okay.
the work that you do. I mean, the lives that you're
Appreciate it.
changing is just incredible impact. So I really appreciate you taking time out from that. And yeah, thank you again.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's it for this episode. I hope you found this session of the Health ROI Show informative and maybe even a little entertaining. Kudos to you for investing this time in your own well-being and your learning. One last thing that the legal beagles need me to say. While we deep dive into elite health optimization, and while some of my guests are, I am not a physician, and this isn't medical advice. Everything we discuss is for educational purposes only, so please work with your qualified healthcare provider on any protocol changes you wish to make. Take care, see you next time, and in the meantime, stay awesome.